Amazon has finally dropped their Fallout TV series last night, and I decided to check it out. I love the Fallout games. I've played basically all of them, like not the flat screen ones, but every 3D one, except Fallout 2, Fallout 3, Fallout 4, Fallout 76 even, and I know that game's not that great. It's doesn't even have story to it really. So I love the games, and I was pretty excited when I saw the trailer. A little iffy because you never know, like video game adaptations do not have a good track record of being good. So I was on the edge, but I'm very happy to say that this show is awesome so far. Solid 9 out of 10. So a TLDR on what Fallout even is, it's like a potential future where a long drawn out war is resolved by everybody dropping nukes, nuking each other, causing the apocalypse. And speaking of nukes, I want to talk about the intro to episode 1 because we get to see the nukes drop. Like there's like 3 or 4 of them. It's amazing. The dropping of the nukes is like Order 66 in Star Wars. It's like this pivotal moment, and you get to see a variety of perspectives on it, depending on what games you play, and other references to like main characters and where that takes place. It begins with what's becoming one of my favorite characters in the show, Cooper Howard, the resident cowboy of this universe. Cooper's performing at what could potentially be one of the last birthday parties before the end of the world. And he's just doing cowboy tricks. You see him performing with the lasso, and then it happens. We see a flash far off in the distance. One of the first nukes was dropped on American soil, and how this is done is so impressive. And it also like tugs on the heartstrings because Cooper's there with his daughter, and there's this like very like heartwarming moment between them, and they always like they have a very like special bond. They always stick together.
That's smoke, Janie. It's just a fire.
And Cooper tries to rationalize it, like, no, that's just a wildfire. But it pans over, you see the smoke rising, and then you see more bombs drop. The shockwave from the nuke shatters the windows, and they have nothing to do but run. Even though they know that's not going to save them, that's like, what else would you do in that situation? You would run, you would take cover, you would hedge your bets that you could potentially survive this somehow. Smash cut 219 years in the future, and we meet Lucy. She is a resident of Vault 33, and the vaults are basically these, the product of the Vault Tech Corporation, which was around before the war, and they marketed themselves as a means to survive a potential nuclear fallout. And while that did work technically, there were other things going on with those vaults, experiments.
The very highest levels of the US government were like, let's build a starship. So of course, Vault Tech director, not being the nicest person in the world, would probably have just said, why don't we use the vaults to figure out the technology we need in the ship?
Pretty much every single vault, or like most of the vaults, have like a different thing going on with it, and they can get pretty ridiculous. One of them is like, instead of having a lot of people in there just kind of surviving nuclear fallout, they had one guy in there and like a box of puppets, and they wanted to see how this guy would go crazy. Now, how they're monitoring this, I don't know. Unless they're like a shadowy corporation like Umbrella. They're probably not around anymore, but that's to be seen in the series, I guess. Let me know in the comment section below if you know. So I actually like what they did with the vaults in this show. There's 2 vaults that we know of so far, as of episode 1 anyways. Well, me from the future here. Yeah, there's actually 3 vaults. There's Vault 33, 32, and 31. Our character Lucy is in Vault 33, and these vaults are uniquely connected together. Normally vaults are not connected. They're just like distributed all over the wasteland. They've got nothing to do with each other. But in this particular experiment, they were like, okay, let's see what happens when we connect 2 different communities together and they have the ability to like close the door. And what we have here is they established this kind of trading system. Basically, to introduce genetic diversity into the community, they're going to have Lucy married off to one of the males in Vault 32. So they're going to have her wedding day. And in exchange for having that kind of, I don't know, genetic diversity introduced to the community, they're going to give Vault 32 a bunch of resources like scrap metal they mentioned, which is pretty cool. I love the Easter eggs in the show. There's so many, and it's so good. And like seeds, basically. And you can tell immediately there's something wrong with Vault 32. Like when they're eating very like improperly. You can see like one woman like grabs her like butter knife and just stabs somebody else's meat. That sounds a little weird, but you know what I mean. And at one point, Lucy asks, like, okay, what is your sperm count? Your doctor must count that, right?
So what's your sperm count?
I don't. So it's like, you could tell there's something going on with Vault 32, and it's going to pay off in a big way. So while Lucy and Chet are doing the business, or, you know, Lucy's brother decides, okay, something's a little fishy with these people. And he decides to investigate Vault 32. So he goes into the vault and it's like, okay, this place is in disarray. There's a lot of chaos. And then he walks into a room and there's a straight up skeleton on, like, he's like a skeleton in a chair, and it's like, okay. And this is where it's revealed that Vault 32 has been slain, I guess, many years ago, because that's a straight up skeleton right there. Maybe they set him on fire or something, and they've been replaced by raiders. So basically Moldave found her way into Vault 32 and just wreaked havoc. Raiders pretty much slaughtered everyone. This entire scene is incredible. It's so gory. I can't show much of it on YouTube because that will absolutely be censored. It's ridiculous. It's so good. I can't even describe it because it's so brutal. But basically Lucy has to fight her way out because Chet is also a raider and he tries to kill her. And then there's like 5 minutes of absolute mayhem in Vault 33. It's around this time that Lucy's father actually recognizes Moldave. Maybe not has seen her before, but has absolutely heard of her, further establishing that Lucy's father does know about the surface world. And Moldave offers him a ultimatum. You either choose your daughter, Lucy, or you choose a lot of hostages that he has over there, or that she has rather. And for whatever reason, his father chooses both. I mean, that wasn't exactly an option, but I guess he did it. He just shoves her inside a containment area. So he's shot and he's taken hostage by the Moldave crew. And they further hint that there's like more going on here, right? Because Moldave actually recognizes Lucy as well and says, you look like your mother. So further pushing intrigue that there's going to be a more in-depth storyline going on here. And now we enter one of my favorite parts of Fallout. I love the Brotherhood of Steel. They're so badass. And we're introduced to a character called Maximus. He's going to be our eyeglass into the Brotherhood of Steel. And then there's obviously this amazing shot of like a group of people wearing power armor. It's like the T60 model.
What kind of model is that? It's the T60.
It's a pretty good like standard power armor set. So I love how well it's translated in this show. It just looks so good. It's so like accurate and detailed. The show honestly does an incredible job showing the weight of this armor, especially in later shots when the Maximus is being thrown around when he actually wears the armor. So I should probably mention that the Brotherhood of Steel, they're basically designed after medieval knights. So like, you know how in like fairy tales, whatever, and in real life, that knights have a squire, and the squire is like, it's like a caddy in golf. They get your stuff to let you do your job better, basically. And I don't know if it's on purpose, but the knight that Maximus is going to serve as a squire, his name is Titus. Tight-ass? Is that what they're going for here? So like I was saying, Maximus, he was just a rookie. He was just like a cadet, but he was promoted to a squire because his friend Dane was not able to perform the task, the job necessary as squire. Due to being injured, somebody put like a blade in Dane's shoes. So it was like, imagine how that sounds so painful. Like you put your foot in your shoe and it's like, it cuts up your leg. Like, oh. Anyways, Maximus is now going to be the squire to Knight Titus. So then we get this classic shot that happens in like every 3D Fallout game. The main character, in this case Lucy, is venturing out for the first time out of Vault 33. And in classic Fallout fashion, the world outside is shown like a very blinding light, like you can't see anything. And then the light slowly, as your eyes adjust, the light goes away and it focuses on the devastation that the nukes caused. Like you see skull and bones everywhere. There's like people frozen in place. I don't know why I went like this. But yeah, it reminds me of the people frozen in place sort of in the Pompeii volcanic explosion. And I just want to point out that the cinematography that they chose for this show, at least definitely when you're outside of like in the open plains, the wasteland as it's called, it reminds me of Fallout 3. Fallout 3 is very orange and yellow. And I laughed because there's a part later where Maximus has to carry this ridiculously large like duffel bag for Knight Titus. It's so huge. It's ridiculous. And in that same shot, we get to see the vertibird. The vertibird is so damn cool. It's like one of the signature Fallout vehicles that you never get to actually fly on your own anyways. Fallout 4 I think is a cop-out, but yeah, very well designed. Everything in the show is really done as one-to-one as they can for like something that's live action, and the vertebrates just look incredible. So Knight Titus and Maximus the Squire are going to be going on a little trip. They're looking for a doctor that initially I believe worked for the Enclave. They were either captured by the Brotherhood of Steel, or the Brotherhood of Steel was like sanctioned to go and look for this doctor because the doctor escaped the Enclave. It's not exactly too clear on that part in the first episode. The main takeaway here is that they got to look for this doctor. And now, as we started this episode, we're circling back to Cooper. Bet you forgot about Cooper. Cooper, the badass cowboy. One of my favorite characters, as I said, still is. This scene's incredible. His introduction, he's buried. He's like I keep saying Alucard. It's like Vincent in Final Fantasy VII. He's like buried in a coffin, and he just comes out, and he's just like,
Well. Why, is this an Amish production of the Count of Monte Cristo? Or just the weirdest circle jerk I've ever been invited to.
And he was buried there initially because he pissed off Don Pedro, I guess. There's like a criminal element here. And he's being kept alive and fed, I guess, via an IV drip going into his coffin, which is all very metal, like goddamn. The bandits unearth him because they're like, all right, this guy's either worth something or he's going to help us go get something that's worth something, right? And Cooper just annihilates all of them, and then he's on his merry way. And we pick up with him in episode 2. But one thing I've got to mention here, which I don't know how I never mentioned it, Cooper has now been transformed into a ghoul. Now, ghouls are very important in Fallout. They're basically the Fallout's version of zombies, but they work a bit different. Not all ghouls are feral ghouls. Feral ghouls are like your classic running zombies, basically. But ghouls are like regular people, but they have very charred skin, and they don't seemingly age. They can kind of go on forever, or just like they go on for a very long time. Bear in mind, Cooper's still alive 219 years later after the nukes. It's not all ghouls, but some ghouls actually transform into feral ghouls, possibly. So that'll be something to keep an eye on for Cooper as this series progresses.
Sick help. Should I shoot him?
And that's basically how episode 1 of Fallout concludes. So overall for me, I would rate this like I did. I rated it in the introduction of this video. I would still rate it like a 9 out of 10. Really good. I think it's just all around good TV. Even if you don't know Fallout, you could probably pick up on a lot of what's going on. So let me know what you guys think about Fallout. Have you seen the entire series? What did you think about Fallout 1? Did you like it? Did you hate it? I noticed some people don't like the way they depicted ghouls. They changed the lore a bit there. They adjusted the Brotherhood a little bit. It's an adaptation in the end. So for me, I don't mind these changes. Nothing is going to be exact. It's always going to have a slight shift for just like modern storytelling. So that's fine. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you like the content here, and I'll see you in the next one.